Before anything else, if you're a Manchester City supporter who lives every bit of news, every rumor, and every decision the club makes, drop a like right now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It helps our content reach more supporters and makes sure you don't miss absolutely anything that's happening behind the scenes at City. Now then, stay with me right to the end because today's information says a lot about the present, and above all about the future of this team. Manchester City are in that curious moment where the side remains competitive, strong, and respected across Europe, yet still refuses to get comfortable. That is perhaps the greatest hallmark of the Pep Guardiola era. When it looks like the squad is already complete, when the technical level is already sky high, the club moves quietly, watches the market, and starts sounding out new possibilities, and that is exactly what is happening now. In recent weeks, reports have emerged that City have begun exploratory contact over a top-level forward valued at around $80 million. This isn't just any name, and it's not a far-off punt. We're talking about a player Pep Guardiola genuinely likes, someone he's admired for a long time, and who would fit almost naturally into the team's model. What's most interesting is that this move comes at a time when City's attack is already producing strong numbers. Even so, the club understands that a brutal schedule, extreme physical demands, and the need for different solutions across a season mean the squad has to stay one step ahead. Pep has never liked operating on the edge. He prefers to have options, to vary behaviors, and to confuse opponents. Since returning from a thigh muscle issue in October, Rayan Cherki has carried far more weight within the team's attacking dynamics. Pep himself made a point of highlighting it publicly. In his view, it's not just the technical talent that stands out, but the personality on the ball, the calmness under pressure, and the ability to dictate the rhythm in the final third. Cherki is the sort of player who doesn't show up in exactly the same way every match. But when he does, he changes the picture. Anyone who follows City closely knows exactly what that means. There are matches where he earns applause with improbable pieces of skill, and others where he seems to vanish for a few minutes. Even so, his impact is real. He offers something that isn't easily taught, improvisation with intelligence. And when you add that to what Jeremy Doku and Phil Foden have been producing, it's clear creativity isn't an issue in this squad. Between them, they've already piled up direct goal contributions in the league, offering depth, pace, and aggression out wide and through the middle. With Erling Haaland as the central reference point, City have an attack capable of hurting any defense in Europe. Even so, that hasn't stopped the club from assessing new attacking pieces before the next window even opens. Pep knows the season shows no mercy. Injuries happen, dips in form arrive, and big matches demand alternatives. That's why it's no surprise the board are evaluating different names with different profiles. One of those names is Antoine Semenyo, currently at Bournemouth. City are carefully considering the possibility of triggering the player's release clause, set at $65 million. Semenyo is seen as a physically strong attacker, aggressive in 1v1 situations and with room to develop. But despite the interest, he's not the only target on the table. Last month, there were also reports that City could be well placed in the race for one of the biggest stars in world football, currently at Real Madrid. The mere possibility stirred the fan base because we're talking about a proven player, decisive in big matches, and experienced at the highest European level. Recent information suggests people close to the player have made it clear that a move to the Premier League wouldn't be ruled out. That has opened the door to early conversations. Alongside City, other English giants have also shown interest, which makes the landscape extremely competitive. And, as you'd expect, Real Madrid wouldn't make any exit easy. The asking price is around $80 million. There is, however, an important obstacle. Internally, the Spanish club have no desire to let one of their main stars go in the middle of the season. Both he and another fundamental attacker in the squad are seen as central pieces of the sporting project, and the expectation is that any deeper decision would be pushed to the European summer. Even so, it's easy to see why Pep Guardiola is so taken with this profile. We're talking about an elite wide player, explosive, capable of deciding major matches on his own, and still in full sporting maturity. His evolution over the last few years has been obvious, both in output and in overall impact. This season, He already has important goals and assists, alongside an impressive record in European competition. He has dozens of direct goal contributions in the Champions League, something reserved for truly special players. If City wants someone to raise the level even further on the left wing, this name sits at the very top of the food chain. Compared with Semenyo, who still has to prove himself consistently at the very highest level, this star would arrive ready-made without a long adaptation period with genuine leading man status. It might sound like a distant dream, but the fact City are even assessing this caliber of player shows the club's ambition remains intact. And that brings up the question every City supporter asks. Is it worth going all in on an already established star, or does it make more sense to invest in someone who can grow within Pep's system? This is only one part of the movement surrounding Manchester City, because while the club looks at reinforcements for the attack, other European giants are also keeping a close eye on key pieces of the current squad. While Manchester City assess ways to strengthen the attacking unit even further, the other side of the game is beginning to attract attention beyond England. When a team dominates for so long, it's inevitable that its pillars will be studied closely by other European giants, and that is exactly what is happening with City's defense. Behind the scenes in Spanish football, the idea is growing that Barcelona are planning a bold future move, aimed directly at one of Pep Guardiola's most important defenders. This isn't immediate, and it isn't a move for right now, but rather a medium-term plan looking ahead to 2026. That detail matters because it shows this isn't empty chatter, but strategic planning. Joško Gvardiol arrived at the Etihad in 2023, surrounded by expectation, pressure, and a hefty fee. The investment was big, but it became clear early on that City weren't simply buying a promising defender. They were buying someone ready to compete at the very highest level. The adaptation period wasn't long. Before long, Gvardiol was showing comfort on the ball, sharp reading of the game, and an uncommon maturity for his age. What genuinely surprised many people was how naturally he took on the left-back role at various moments. There, he didn't just defend. He pushed forward, joined the attacking play, appeared as a surprise element, and contributed directly with goals and assists. For a defender, those numbers say a lot about bravery, confidence, and understanding of the system. The following season, even when City had spells of inconsistency and didn't always look at their most dominant, Gvardiol was one of the most consistent players in the squad. He featured in almost every league match, maintained a high level regardless of position, and even managed to increase his attacking contribution. When he was moved into the center of defense at the end of the campaign, he showed he could be decisive there as well. The partnership he formed with Ruben Dias gave the defensive line a new identity. They complement each other, one more aggressive, the other more positional, both strong in the air and secure in build-up. That solidity pushed other defenders to the bench, not because they lacked quality, but because the partnership simply worked better. This context helps explain why Barcelona's interest sounds more like desire than something genuinely viable. From a sporting point of view, Gvardiol is everything any European club would want. Young, experienced in big matches, a winner, versatile, and with clear room to grow. From City's perspective, he is a structural piece, someone designed to lead the defense for many years. Reports coming out of Spain suggest Barcelona are watching not only the player, but the wider context around him. There are internal doubts in the Catalan club about contracts, continuity among certain defenders, and even about the model of play they'll adopt in the coming years. That's why the planning begins early. And there's also an external factor that weighs heavily in this equation. Pep Guardiola's future at Manchester City is constantly debated outside England. Even without any clear signs of an immediate departure, the simple fact that Pep is Pep means any potential change at the top is seen as a turning point. Some believe a possible exit could open doors to negotiations that currently look impossible. For City supporters, though, that conversation feels far from reality. Gvardiol isn't just another squad member. He represents continuity, stability, and identity. Selling a player like that would make no sense sporting-wise or strategically, especially for a club that is rarely forced by finances to move on its leading names. And that naturally takes us to the third point connecting all these stories. Pep Guardiola, and the way he views his squad. Recently, in a press conference after another solid league win, Pep ended up confirming something many supporters have noticed for years. There is one player who holds a special place within this project. City won convincingly, controlled the match from start to finish, and once again showed why they remain the reference point in the Premier League. The goals drew attention, and a few individual moments earned applause. But for Pep, the match went far beyond the scoreline. He spoke again about mentality, reading the game and the ability to adapt. And at the center of that analysis was Bernardo Silva. Bernardo is the sort of player who doesn't need constant spotlight to be decisive. He appears at the right time, in the right space, doing the right job. He can play wide, inside, higher up, or deeper. He understands the game like few others and carries out Pep's plan almost like an extension of the manager on the pitch. When asked about the captain's form, Pep responded in his characteristic way. He joked, smiled, and admitted Bernardo is a kind of personal weakness. He called him, without any fuss, his favorite player. At the same time, he made a point of saying he expected more from him in that specific match. That blend of admiration and demand perfectly sums up the relationship between the two. Pep highlighted Bernardo's competitiveness, tactical intelligence, and ability to rise when the situation gets heavy. In his view, many players can perform well when everything is controlled, but few stay at the highest level in historic stadiums, under maximum pressure when every detail decides titles. For Pep, Bernardo belongs to that rare group. It's no coincidence he's among the most used players throughout the Guardiola era at City. Trust, versatility, and a winning mentality aren't negotiable. Even when he isn't at his technical peak, Bernardo delivers what the manager values above all: reliability. With big decisions approaching, heavy fixtures in the calendar, and another title race underway, his importance should only grow. While City think about big money reinforcements, protect themselves against outside interest in their defenders, and plan for the future, players like Bernardo represent the link between all these phases. In the end, all these stories connect. The hunt for new stars, the interest from other clubs in the squad's pillars, and Pep's absolute trust in certain players show Manchester City aren't living only for the present. The club builds the future while it keeps on winning. If you enjoyed this content, drop a like now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any Manchester City updates. Your support makes all the difference for us to keep bringing complete, well-informed analysis.